Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance.
The first one is titled, Wife of 16 years has various health and mental conditions that prevent most sexual activities. Recently she told me she would be okay if I found a sexual partner to meet my sexual needs. I'm not sure what to do. So, we're a fairly classic couple story where we have very different libidos. Mine's been high and hers was a bit lower until about 10 years ago. Over the past 10 years she's been diagnosed with multiple health conditions. I don't want to list them all, but needless to say it deeply affects her standard of living and puts me in the role of a caregiver. I love my wife. When we first got married none of these health conditions were present. But if they had been, I still would have married my wife. My real only concern has always been the reduction in our sex lives. Over the past 2 years it's been really noticeable, with sex occurring once maybe every couple months, with some gaps as long as 6 months. I know my needs aren't really being met, and I struggle greatly to even accept that my sexual needs are important in the face of what she goes through every day. To be clear, she's a hero in my eyes. She faces all her struggles with strength. Even when she falters and has a bad day she picks herself back up and faces the next day. I feel so guilty feeling bad about wanting sex, when clearly she's struggling with so much more. She mentioned about a week ago that she knows I stay up late so I can pleasure myself after she goes to bed, and she knows that I want more intercourse. She told me she feels guilty she can't provide the level sexual activity I desire. And that after taking care of her for so many years I deserve to have these needs met. She ended by saying that I could try to find a sexual partner to fill my needs, but the huge caveat is she doesn't want to know anything about it. This isn't completely out of nowhere. Many years ago, before her illness, we were a pretty experimental couple for intercourse. While the drive was lower for her she was still adventurous. We had a few group sex activities, and she struggled with some feelings of jealousy. We worked through them and eventually had a few positive encounters with multiple people. She said she knows that after everything we've already gone through that I'm loyal to her, but she's willing to give me the ability to find a sexual partner for meeting my needs. I don't know how I feel about it, especially given the jealousy situation from many years ago. I'm really confused. I have no ethical problem with open relationships, but I am worried this will backfire on me. I'm also worried I simply won't be able to find a partner since I have no idea how to even look after being with someone for nearly 20 years. Truthfully, I'd love to be able to have sex with someone, and I don't link sex with love and romance. But how do I even do this if was going to? What does Reddit think? A user in the comments said, "Is there any way you guys could get a couples therapist involved? You guys both sound amazing and insistent on putting the other's needs before yours, which is great. It really might make her feel better and less guilty if you were having your sexual needs met elsewhere. I just wouldn't jump right into it on a don't ask don't tell basis, especially since jealousy has been an issue before. A trained professional might be able to walk you guys through this and help you both come out happier and healthier." Another user said, "I think that a couples counselor can help you to communicate more about the underlying feelings and need here, and help you think through different strategies. They could also counsel you both independently through the journey you do choose, whether it's building more intimacy between you two that could help meet some of your needs, exploring other sexual partners, or paying a sex worker. One question I have is, do you only pleasure yourself after she's asleep? Have you tried doing it with her there with you? Holding you? Touching your body while you pleasure yourself? There is a lot of intimacy and sexual pleasure that can be derived without having sex with your partner." The next one is titled, Update. About 2 weeks ago I posted that my sick wife had brought up the subject of finding someone outside our relationship for me to have sex with. Got a lot of feedback from the post, got called several terrible names in DMs. But in the end, I had a long conversation with my wife, and also we spoke with our therapist about it. Sex is normally not a topic at therapy, but it was in this case. Turns out, my wife's best friend actually brought up the idea and mentioned being willing to help. They had a long conversation about it when her friend came over one day while I was working. My wife talked about how she wished I could still enjoy that part of my life, despite her illness, and her friend mentioned being willing to act as a sexual partner. Her friend is historically polyamorous, currently not with a partner. Many years ago, over 8, we had a very positive group sex encounter with her and one of her partners at the time. They have apparently been talking about it quite a bit over several weeks, and my wife is comfortable with the idea and feels much more comfortable with it assuming the person is her friend. When I asked her about the idea of don't ask, don't tell, my wife mentioned she's okay knowing that it's going on in the background. She just doesn't want to see it or hear it. Basically, she is fine with me going out, as I do when I visit friends or grocery stores, or now visiting her friend. She essentially doesn't want to know any details, she doesn't want to feel being compared to, and she is okay if I find someone other than her friend, but really wants the trust level to be similar. I talked about a professional sex worker, and she was okay with it, but she did have an issue with the potential cost. In the end, she said we should talk to her friend about what things might look like. I don't mind her friend, and certainly, we had fun many years ago during that one group sex encounter. Her friend actually helped me take care of my wife a few times a few years ago. I had hurt my back, and her friend came to take over helping to bathe my wife. I trust her almost as much as my wife. She definitely would never hurt my wife and is one of those friends you consider family. Roll Tide? Her friend and I get along very well, and honestly it might work. Our therapist recommended we do some reading on polyamory as well as recommended a few books. The therapist brought up the idea of developing feelings for this other partner. And my wife, for the first time, mentioned that she is okay with some romantic feels, but wants to be informed as soon as those develop. The therapist agreed it's a unique situation and was pretty supportive. Our next step is me having a conversation with her friend one-on-one, and then deciding if we are going through with this. Life is strange, people. A user in the comments said, "Are you ready as a couple for you to get feelings for her friend? Because that's a very likely outcome." And yeah, read up on polyamory. The podcast Multiamory is great. I've heard good things about the book Polysecure. If you read more than 2, then proceed with caution because one of the authors is an ass and that bleeds through in his advice a bit. Find links about it in my comment history. This could be great, but to have success you need to be prepared for things to go other than planned. Boundaries and rules are great, but sometimes they can lead you to think you can control your feelings and their outcomes more than might be possible. Especially when new relationship energy sets in. The next one is titled, My 24F Friend, 24F, Told Me She Cheated with a Married Man, 37M. So, I've been friends with Abigail, 24F, since we were kids. She recently got back from an international vacation with a big group, which included a married couple, James, 37M, and his wife. Her boyfriend, Wyatt, 25M, didn't go, and neither did I. Abigail and I were catching up today, chatting about her vacation, when she drops this bombshell on me. Apparently, Abigail and James got drunk one night and hooked up. They didn't have intercourse, but she gave him oral. His wife was feeling sick, so she was in another room. Neither the wife nor Wyatt know about any of this, and neither couple is in an open relationship. Abigail and James have agreed to keep this a secret, although obviously she told me. They're still in touch but just platonically. In Abigail's view, this isn't that big of a deal, and she doesn't feel guilty because there's no emotional connection and it was a one-time, drunken vacation thing. I asked her, if it's not a big deal, why doesn't she just tell Wyatt what happened? She said it's because he'll be pissed. I'm kind of disturbed by all this. I have known Abigail to cheat on a few boyfriends in the past, but it was always near the end of those relationships, when she was already preparing to dump them. Edit to clarify. I didn't find out about that cheating until months or years after she'd already dumped those boyfriends. She's pretty serious about Wyatt and has talked about getting married and having kids with him. They've been dating almost 2 years and live together. Plus, while personally Wyatt isn't my cup of tea, I think he's kind of annoying. He's been pretty good to Abigail, has a steady high-paying job, and is actually our age. Why the hell did she cheat on him with this older married dude? I don't know James or his wife, but now I'm not sure if I should just keep quiet or say something to Wyatt. I'm the only one Abigail's told, so she's definitely going to know he found out from me, and probably that'll ruin our friendship. I don't like Wyatt that much, he's not mean or abusive, just a bit of a know-it-all, and also, I don't really want to be involved in any drama. But if she's actually going to marry this guy, I feel like I have some moral obligation to let him know the truth. What should I do? A user in the comments said, so, this guy's wife was sick, so he decided to get a blowjob from a younger woman instead of taking care of his sick wife? Your friend is scum, and the guy is scum. I won't tell you what to do, but your friend is a serial cheater and probably won't ever stop. Is your man safe? Are you ready to clean up her messes for the rest of her life? Your choice who you hang out with. Personally, I would tell her BF and try to tell the poor wife who clearly deserves better. Another user said, I'm actually staggered at the responses I'm reading here. What kind of friend do you have that consistently cheats on her partners? It doesn't matter if she's planning on dumping them, she's still in a relationship at the time. Also think if it was you, wouldn't you like to know if you've been cheated on? My friends and I would never cover for each other cheating, and we wouldn't be friends with each other if the others consistently cheated on their partners. The next one is titled, Update, my 24F friend, 24F, told me she cheated with a married man, 37M. Update. So last time, I got comments telling me to confront Wyatt, as well as a few people telling me to mind my own business and stay out of it. I decided to confront Abigail one last time, saying that she needs to own up to her behavior and confess to Wyatt. Otherwise, I was going to tell him. But before we actually met up to have that conversation, Wyatt found out anyway. It sounds like James was cheating on his wife with at least one other woman, and that woman got fed up and texted the wife with photographic proof of the affair. The wife freaked out on James and forced him to let her go through his phone. So, then the wife found out about Abigail, too, and all hell broke loose. Wyatt heard from the wife. Apparently Wyatt and James are family friends, which first didn't know. He drove over to confront James face to face. They got into a physical altercation and Wyatt ended up at the police station. Abigail called me crying, asking for a ride to the station since Wyatt had taken their car to James's house. At this point, I had no idea what was going on, so I agreed, and we drove down there, which is when I found out the entire story. Honestly, I was so tired of all their bullcrap that I just dropped Abigail off and left. Now Wyatt has a court hearing in a few weeks. James and his wife are probably getting a divorce. Not sure if Abigail and Wyatt are staying together, but I'm trying to not get involved. I do feel bad for her, and we've been friends for over 15 years, but part of me also thinks this is her own fault. The next one is titled, Civilian Dependent Wife Demands Salute Because of Her Husband's Rank. There are a handful of rules to saluting in the American military. The when, why, and how is drilled into you from boot camp until the day you leave. Even the order in which the salutes are rendered have meaning. When it comes to vehicles, there are helpful insignia and stickers to indicate if it's an officer, such as a colored sticker located on the front windshield. My base was small enough where it was everyone's job at some point to do sentry duty at the front gate, which had housing for military families. Sentry duty was pretty basic. You'd stop every vehicle, check IDs and then wave them through. If they were an officer, you'd see it coming with those colored stickers, and after verifying the identity of the officer, you'd salute and send them on their way. One day while on duty, I approached a vehicle with an officer's sticker and there was only the officer's wife driving in the vehicle. I returned her ID, wished her a nice day and waved her through. Pausing with a stern look, "Where's my salute, Petty Officer Citizen Alpha?" Now Karen here was wife to a higher-ranking officer and has clearly fallen under the impression people are saluting her somewhere along the way. Some of the junior enlisted might have even been saluting her, as they're pretty easy to bully and more prone duck-ups. I politely replied, "Ma'am, salutes are only rendered to commissioned officers." Angrily pointing her chubby little fingers at the front of her windshield towards her husband's officer sticker. "I have a sticker and you need to salute the sticker." Curtly I continued, "I'm afraid that sticker is not an officer either." Frustrated, she pulled through and left my post. My cover guy. The guy keeping me safe with a big gun. And I watched her drive down the street and pull right into the administrative building with the top brass and huffed into the building as quickly as her soft crepey body would take her. We exchange a look between us with wry smiles, knowing exactly where this is probably going. Later that day we get a new official base-wide mandate. From here forward all enlisted will salute vehicle stickers of officers regardless of who's in the vehicle. Roger that. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. It's worth noting that when you salute an officer as enlisted, you do it first, and you hold that salute until you are saluted in return, and they lower theirs. Only then do you lower your salute. It signals that you're saluting them, and they're replying. Additionally, when saluting a group of officers, you generally direct your salute and greeting to the highest-ranking individual. Now, as far as I know, this stupid sticker salute order has no accommodation for how a 2004 Toyota Camry fits into the officer's pecking order. Additionally, if the car is unoccupied, it's not like that sticker is removed. After that order came through, we all began saluting stickers. Personally, I'd direct my salute to the sticker. I would also prioritize sticker salutes over officers. Let me tell you, walking through parking lots was a blast as I saluted empty cars on my way to wherever. More and more people saw me doing it, and more people started doing it. Not long after the order was publicly rescinded, which hilariously had the balancing effect of never rendering a salute to anyone but a clearly known officer, cementing Karen never getting her unearned salutes. The next one is titled, "Ex-wife told me to remove all my stuff from her storage unit." So, I did. My ex-wife and I split because she cheated. So, our separation was quite tumultuous. She still hasn't apologized for the act of cheating and still denies it, even though I know beyond any reasonable doubt that she did. I was incredibly hurt at the time, and I'll admit I wasn't acting my best. But I still tried to treat her fairly. When she left, we agreed that she would take over the payment on our car because she needed it for work. Our other car was totally paid off and I couldn't afford the payment on the one that she drove. But I agreed to leave my name on the loan because her credit didn't qualify. TBH, I didn't really have an alternative. I told her that she could keep it for as long as she made the payments. And that if she paid it off, I would immediately sign her over the title. But if she started flaking on the payments, I would have the car voluntarily repossessed. I also agreed to give her the washer and dryer on the condition that she take over the car payments. I had purchased the washer and dryer but had no use for them because I lived in an apartment at the time. This is important for later. Well, we inevitably got into a disagreement over the parenting of our children. I can't remember exactly what it was about, TBH. And she randomly showed up with the car, handed me the keys and said, "Have fun figuring out how to make the payments." She knew I couldn't afford them. And then ended with "and get all your crap out of my storage unit." We hadn't finished entangling the mess of items in our jointly owned storage unit, but she wanted it done immediately because she was mad. So, I did what she asked. I went over that day to get my stuff out of our storage unit. While I was in there, I saw the washer and dryer sitting in the corner and immediately remembered that I had only given them to her on the condition that she pay off the car. So, I took them. I had absolutely zero need for them at the time. But she had very specifically wanted my crap out of her storage unit. So, who was I to argue? She called me a day later screaming about it, telling me that she had filed a police report. I just laughed, knowing they wouldn't do anything because it was my property. The story gets better. As it turns out, she was just angry and actually wanted the car back. Well, the day after she had dropped it off on me, I got into a freak accident and totaled it. Everyone was okay. So, she ended up without a car and I never had to make a single payment on it. The universe wanted to maliciously comply with her demands. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the relationship stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and write a comment. I really appreciate your support and it helps my channel so much. Thank you.